Hello everybody, it's me. Welcome back to the video. Now, in this video, I wanted to make another one of the tier list videos, and this one's going to be talking about all of the event roamers, which I don't know if it's going to be a longer one or a shorter one, because I was thinking about speeding it up a bit more, because these I know a little bit more about, because I do enjoy using roamings. Also, there is like 11 of the same person here. Look, we have cross alteration, green alteration, blue alteration, and purple. Dude, there's like 14 of them. It's ridiculous. And look, they're all here. What's happening? What are they doing? I don't even know. But anyway, we're going to be talking about all of the event roamers in the in every event, which that means the Christmas event, the Halloween event, the Sweet Retreat, and even the Cosmere Meteor event. And I don't think I'll count like Pharaoh. And I think I have all of the roamers down, and if I missed any, let me know, but I'm pretty sure I have all of them. I don't think I missed any because I checked like 14 times. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy, and without further ado, let's hop straight into it. And hopping straight into it, we're going to have 5 different tiers as last time. We have D, C, B, A, and S. S tier being the best, D tier being the worst. And now hopping straight into it, into D tier, there's actually nothing in D tier. Personally, I think that a lot of the event roamers we have are mediocre and good. You know, so I didn't put anything in D tier, and I think that's fair, honestly. But of course, there's gonna be stuff in C tier. So yeah, in C tier, what I consider to probably be the worst event roaming, I'm going to go with Cosmere Encase. Now, this big meatball chunk, I feel like is just kind of too passive, you know? The Cosmere Encase is clearly meant to be very bulky, and the only way you can actually deal sustainable damage is if it goes for Peace of Mind and then goes for one of its 2 stabs. And we know how stab is in this game. Or you can go with a supportive set with like Slumber, Icicle Traps, and other moves like that to be more supportive, and pair that with Regift, you can push traps back. And I think that's honestly great, but I don't think it is as good as it sounds. Because, again, it's easily beatable by anything called a metal type, and it just... Defensively, its typing's not great, because Mind is not a great defensive typing, and on top of that, it just doesn't... I don't know. In terms of the tier list here, I don't think it's that great. I really don't. But yeah, then we're going on to the next one in this tier, which in C tier is kind of funny, because it's actually going to be Celesting. Now, Celesting is definitely a Loomian that I feel like has a lot of potential, right? Like, you remember it was going to get Rejuvenate, that was stopped, and I think maybe it eventually get Rejuvenate back, and it hopefully will get Mystic Tone buffed to where it procs on both moves, or like both sides of moves, so you get hit with a range move it procs and gets hit with a melee move it procs, you know? I think this is a fair placing, because even though Celesting right now is not all that terrible, I still don't think in terms of this specific tier list it can hold up, you know? But yeah, that'll end off C tier. Only 2 things in C tier. Now the rest of these tiers are actually pretty packed. Here, on the first one of B tier, we have Cosmere Cracked. Now, I don't know how much I like Cosmere Cracked. It's probably my least used Cosmere form, but from what I know, I don't think I would like it all too much. Maybe once it gets Guerrilla Tactics, it'd be a lot better, but it's supposed to be an offensive threat, you know, and it doesn't really have that immediate damage output, you know, if that makes sense. It can't really throw out a bunch of damage. It is pretty bulky, though, because it has Enchanted Coat. It also has the option of Regift right now until we get Guerrilla Tactics for the range side, which if you don't know what Guerrilla Tactics is, it's basically you get a free +1 attack boost, but for this one it's going to be for the range side, so you just get a +1 range attack boost. And yeah, hopping to the next one, we're going to have Base Gargolem. Now, I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Base Gargolem is probably the most mid out of all of the forms, in my personal opinion. Mostly because it's just the base form. I feel like it does have some cool potential with some cool things. Like you can have Accelerate, you can have Master, you know, you can have a bunch of different coverage options. And I feel like it's not all that bad. But, again, in terms of the tier list, I don't know how I feel about it. And once we get into things that I know a lot more about, this will be very nice to actually talk about. But yeah, then for the next one, we're going to have Gargolem Attack, actually. In my opinion, Gargolem Attack is not the greatest, you know, because I feel like it is just not that hard to beat. You know, you can bring a Stratosaur, and since Silver Stratosaur is super common, it's not that hard to stop a Gargolem Attack from doing a lot of damage. Plus, like, I don't know, because you have 150, I think it's 155 or 150 attack. It's still pretty solid, don't get me wrong. It's not that it's bad. It's just, it's not that difficult to stop. Plus, it relies on getting a kill, and it's easily revenge killable, because if you're trapped in boots, it can be clear to tell if you're trapped in boots. And pretty much any faster ice type can beat you, which there's a lot of boots ice types out there. Plus, Glissadia is really popular, so you're pretty much required to run boots to beat Glissadia. And even then, you probably need to get Boom Bash. Plus, Glissadia can just invest to live a specialty boots. +1 Earthquake if it ends up going there. But yeah, I do think that it's fine, but definitely not, like, the greatest. And then, we're going to have Adiaga. And I think Adiaga is pretty solid. It has basically like every coverage move you could ever ask for. If you need coverage moves, just go ask Adiaga, because it probably has that coverage move that you're looking for. And on top of all of that, it has it has actually a pretty solid defense stat. Its only problem I'd say is the speed. It can hit really hard. Hag is a great ability because it's able to just boost your Mind Stab to essentially make it a stab move. And then on top of it, you just, I don't know, you just get to like blow things up. Then you have solid coverage, you have setup. And if you can just get set up, you're honestly pretty solid because you have a good melee defense stat, you have peace of mind, you get your range defense. The problem with it is the speed stat, right? It's 100% the speed stat. It always has been the speed stat, in my opinion. Because everything else that it's going for is pretty solid. Setup, coverage on like both sides of the spectrum, you know? And then you look at its speed and you're like, oh, this thing is slow. Yeah, but then for the last of B tier, we're going to go with Gargolem Speed. Now, I use Gargolem Speed a lot, and I honestly really like it as a hyper offense suicide lead, you know? But it's pretty much all it does is just Hi, cat. All it does is pretty much lead and then die, you know? You can save it for some other situation where like, oh crap, I need to kill this Hunder that's threatening my team. Oh crap, I need to kill this Ikazune that's threatening my team. Oh crap, I need to get half health from this Mirace before I freaking die. You know, a lot of scenarios that have happened to me a lot. And personally, I like Gargolem Speed, but I can't let my personal bias get in the way. I'm judging these on how I really feel about them. And of course, like, tier lists are always opinion based. People's opinions can always differ, you know? But yeah, and then that'll wrap up the B tier. And then hopping into A tier. And this is one that might surprise a lot of people. I'm going to go with the bottom of A tier being Nymare. Now, I know, shocker, right? Nymare has been one of my favorite Loomians to use throughout, like, the entirety of my return to Loomian Legacy. Heck, I always have it in my party when I'm hunting for rare stuff, because I think Brittany has a good luck charm. But when I'm really thinking about it, Soulburst Gastroke walls it, right? It's simple as that. Soulburst Gastroke just walls it, and I can't deny that, and I can't say like, oh, just bring a teammate, because I'm trying not to be like, oh, if they bring a teammate, this thing can pop off, or if this dies, it can pop off, because yes, if plant types die, nothing can really stop Nymare. Then you have Mirace, which is a pretty decent counter to it as well, pretty much hard stops it. Then you have a funny ranged defensive Chienta out there that's also actually pretty solid at beating it, and I don't know. It's definitely a very fun Loomian to use, but if you're really considering like playing at a higher level, I wouldn't use it, because you would probably just want to use Valkyrie, better defensive typing, recovery, magnify, and could like maybe beat freaking Gasstroke. I don't know. But yeah, I'd say that's a solid place to put Nightmare. It's at the bottom of A tier. And then the next one here, we're going to have Wobelisk. Now, Wobelisk was definitely one of my absolute favorite things to use back in the day. And now, these days, I haven't really used it that much, and maybe eventually it'll get some kind of cool buff, or I could find like a Gamma Secret Ability Pure Nimble one, and then, hey, it's the new Simon, you know? I could have an offensive boots user on my team. But I think Wobelisk is fun and cool, and these days, I think it's just outclassed. There's other better barb setters. There's other better offensive ice type attackers. But even then, it's still really solid with its really good HP, solid defenses, and just good move pool in general. You have barbs, you have driving force, you have luster loot, you have earthquake, you have rogue assault, you have ice hammer. Got all those moves recently, and it's honestly not bad. You can take people by surprise with like a sharpen set, because if you sharpen with hasty, you're technically at +2, which can basically just obliterate and nuke things, which is awesome. But overall, I'd say Wobelisk is okay. I definitely like it though as an ice type, because ice type's actually one of my favorite typings. People don't know that. And then for the next one, we have Cosmior Unleashed. Now this is the last of the Cosmior forms, so now there's no more Cosmior. But I did want to touch on Cosmior Unleashed. I think that it's kind of dumb that it has Surrogate, you know? Because I think Surrogate in itself is a very strong ability in the sense that it can make or break a game. You have Specialization Boots Cosmior that can just, like, one of the best Laken Cleaners in the entire game, in my opinion. And I know from what I've heard on, like, streams and stuff, Cosmior will eventually be losing Surrogate, which I think is a W because, oh my god, that thing is annoying and dumb. But I also like the idea of Idiosyncratic Cosmior, which could catch some melee walls off guard. But then it's kind of like that one-time surprise factor, you know? And then if you're like fighting, I don't know, like, let's say you're fighting Obsidian and like Venolan as a defensive, ranged defensive, melee defensive core. I would say a ranged Cosmior with Idiosyncratic could actually beat them, because you can just Peace of Mind, you can Psycho Blast and destroy the Venolan, you can freaking Meteor Crash the Obsidian, and you just have those options. But Surrogate is definitely the more preferred ability because, hey, you can get priority Hypnotize with Thaumin, you can get Rev Up, you can get Specialization, you can get Ace. You know, there's just too much going for it, and it's one of those things that is just, can be very, 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 very good, but sometimes can also be a little, I don't know. It's easily beatable if you're prepared for it. And now for the next one, we actually are going to have a Kalos. I feel like a Kalos is a pretty fair one, right? I don't think that's more my bias coming in, because I think after it got Drudge, it was really good. And then I tried out the Clever set, and then I just like fell in love with it. I absolutely adore the Clever set on freaking a Kalos. It's just enjoyable to use for me. And overall, I think it's solid. You have Driving Force, you have Icicle Trap, you have Soft Water, you have Bromos, you have Drudge. You have a lot of options in terms of setup and your wall breaking potential. You have good coverage, and it's just generally a really solid mod. And I just can't really think of any downsides to it. It's just really, hi cat, what are you doing? What are you doing? Cat string sniping moment. But yeah, that'll be it for Kalos. And here on the next one, we have an old friend that has broken my heart a few times. I'm gonna go with Nevermare at the top of A tier. I feel like this is a very fair placing. It's fast, it has crits, it has setup. You know, the only lackluster thing is its health, because it has a good range defense stat, solid, it has a good range defense stat, good speed, pretty good attack. I think it's lackluster melee defense, right? But then you make up for that because of bulk up, and you're always running bulk up. So in that context, yeah, you have like 89 melee defense, 110 range defense. The only downside to this thing is its health, right? And maybe because you have to rely on the fact that you get crits. Because if you don't crit, it's kind of like, I'm gonna die, you know? But then, even then, it's still really threatening because if things get a, like, defense boost, you can still crit through. Like, against gas stroke, right? You could bulk up and you can crit through that thing, you know? You can provoke it as well so it can't poison you, be forced to stratagem, and then you have your health amulet, and then it really just won't be able to hit you. But I guess it has Flora Blast, which hits plant type super effectively. So I guess it always has that option, you know? But yeah, that will wrap up A tier, actually. Now we're heading into S tier. And now, heading into S tier, we're going to have the first one being, drumroll please, Soul Burst Metronet. Now, I know this might be a bit of a shock because people are always saying, like, oh my god, Soul Burst Metronet is so broken. Personally, in my opinion, I don't think it's that broken. I really do not think that it is all that broken. I think it is easily beatable, and I tried for an hour trying to, like, get something to sweep, and I got, like, battering rammed, freaking, I just died, right? I don't think Soul Burst Metronet is as good as people say it is. You could say it's, like, quote-unquote Ubers and quote-unquote broken. I don't think it is. Send in, like, your Boots Ikazune, and it's dead even at +2, which is, I mean, it might not be +2, maybe just +1. But even then, it just doesn't have the ranged bolt, and it does not have the health to sustain itself. Yes, it has a good melee defense stat, so maybe saying like, oh, wait, it could check Mutagon. I don't freaking care. You know? I don't know. I just don't think it's that strong. But yeah, and then hopping into the final Gargolem form. It's actually going to be Gargolem Defense in S tier. There's no denying how good Gargolem Defense is, right? The Gargolem forms have a lot going for it. They have Provoke, they have Driving Force, they have Barbs, they have Icicle Traps, they have Slapdown, they have Mudslide, they have Empathize. They have a lot of options, and Gargolem Defense is able to take advantage of all of them because they can pretty much live any one hit, right? Gargolem can Slapdown, it can Driving Force, it can just do so much that can be so helpful for your entire team and just is a very good place. You could even do the funny set that I did, where you set up your freaking Bane of Haste and then do some Demoglio. It's just a really funny thing to use, and I think it's just solid. Hi, kitty. My cat wants to leave. Hold on, my kitty. I can give you food in a second. But yeah, Gargolem Defense is very strong and is very bulky and is very hard to kill. That's for sure. It can never die in any one hit unless you're set up. I've had my Akalos kill it quite a few times though, so never been something I've been that worried about. You know? But yeah, and then we're going into the second to last in S tier. And if you can guess what it is, and you've been paying attention to what I've listed, you might get it. Drum roll, please. We have My Mask. Now, My Mask is honestly one of my favorite roamers, and it's just really cool. You know, it can change its type, it can disguise itself as another Loomian, and it just has that surprise factor to it that you never know what it's actually going to be. It can run so many different sets. It could run a Facade Suicide anti-lead, you know? It can run an offensive Facade with some funny strats. It can do an offensive mask swap. You never know with My Mask, and that's the fun of it, right? You can never tell what it's going to do before it's too late. You need to at least... if you see a My Mask on the enemy team, you gotta be prepared, because that My Mask could be anything. It could be anything. But yeah, and if you've been paying attention, you will know what the last one is. And of course, we're talking about Metronet. Metronet is just so good at what it does. It has a really good ability in Mysterious Cloak, so it can't get worn down. It has a okay defensive typing to where it's not really hit super effectively by that much, so you need to kind of break through it normally. You also have good speed stat, setup, provoke, good coverage, and it's just solid overall. And there's just not a whole lot that is that wrong with Soul Burst, not Soul Burst Metro, normal Metronet, because it just, I don't know, I feel like it's just pretty solid. And it's definitely the best of all of the event roamings, because it's just Metronet. I don't know how to explain it. You can hypnotize, you can peace of mind, it's a really good setup sweeper. What's my cat freaking doing? She just opened my closet door. That is freaky. But yeah, with all that being said, that'll be ending off this tier list. I'll show the tier list on screen right now. And yeah, hopefully that you all enjoyed. And I'll leave the tier list in the description down below. It's basically the same thing I did last time for the Jolly Festival / Village Loomians, where I just took away a bunch of the tiers till I just had 5 left. And then labeled them D, C, B, A, and S. But yeah, with all that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you over in the next one. Bye-bye.